good morning. We will pay attention to the debtors collection period today. Before we can determine the time that the debtors will take to pay for their debts, we must first determine what is the total sales and then what is the credit sales, because from the total sales, a certain percentage will be on credit. So it is very important to determine whether they give you the total sales or whether they give you the credit sales. If the total sales are provided, you will have to calculate the percentage credit sale. So here they give us the information and they say a third of the total sales will be on credit. So first of all, we have to determine the total credit sales. If we look at the debtors collection schedule, we will have a column for the different months that we have to use to do calculations. Then we will have a column to show what is the credit sales for that month. So I will take 30% of the total sales to determine what was the credit sale during March and what was the credit sales during April, etc. So the first thing that you have to do is take your total sales, work out what percentage is credit sales and record the credit sales. Okay, the next information that they give us is very important in the calculation. You must read very carefully whether they tell you that they paid during the month of the transaction, that means the same month that the goods were sold, or whether they start paying the month following the transaction. If you read this incorrectly, all your calculations will be wrong because you will record it in the wrong column. So for this exercise, they said 20% during the month of the transaction. So that means if we sold goods in April, they will start paying in April. Then the second thing that's very important that you must determine is if they allow discount to the clients if they pay in that first month. So in this exercise, they will get 5% discount if they pay during the month of the transaction. Then the following month, they will receive 75% of the total credit sales. And the rest of the amount will be written off as credit losses. Okay, so that means in the first month, in the month that they sell, they will pay 20%. And because they pay that 20% in that month, they will receive 5% discount on that amount. The following month, they will pay 75% of the total amount. And then the 5% will be written off as bad debts or credit losses. So we will do the calculations now to determine of the March sales, how much will be received during March, how much will be received during April. We will look at our credit sales and we will determine how much money will be received in the month that the goods were sold and how much will be received in the month following the sales. Now, if we look at March, the total sales during March was 60,000. So of that total credit sales of 60,000, 20% will be paid during March because it's paid in the month, and 5% will be deducted for discount. Now, in this debtors collection period table, we only have to do it for April, May, and June. That means that we don't have to calculate the amount received during March because it doesn't fall in the 3 months that we have to record. So the March sales of that amount, 75% will be received during April. So I take 60,000 times 75%, and that will give me the amount that will be received during April. If we look at the April sales, we see that the credit sales in April was 40,000. Now, of that 40,000, they will receive 20% during April. That will give me 8,000 Rand. And on that 8,000 Rand, you will give 5% discount. That means the business will only receive 95% of the amount that they were supposed to get. So of the 40,000, 20% will give me 8,000 Rand. Then you deduct 5% on the 8,000 to determine what is the total amount that we will receive during April. If I want to determine how much money will be received during May, it means the month following April, we will receive 75%. So I will use the 40,000 times 75%, and that will give me 30,000 during May. If I look at the total credit sales in May, it is 35,000. Now, during the month of sales, so it means in that month that we sold the goods, we will receive 20%. So first of all, I will go and work out what is 20% of 35,000. That will give me 7,000 Rand. On the 7,000, I will deduct 5% to determine what is the actual amount that I receive from them, and that will give me 6,650. Or you can say, of the 35,000, we will receive 20%, but because we give a 5% discount, we will only receive 95% of the total amount. Then of the May sales, you will receive in June 75%. So 35,000 times 75% will give me 26,250. In June, the total credit sales was 50,000 Rand. In the month of sales, that means in June, the business will receive 20%. That will give them 10,000 Rand. On the 10,000, they will allow 5% discount. So 5% on 10,000 will give me 500 Rand, and therefore they will only receive 9,500. Or the calculation can be 50,000, you will receive 20% of it. Because you give 5% discount, you will only receive 95% of the total amount. So first of all, you have to go and do the calculations to determine exactly how much money will be received in each month. Very important to read very carefully whether they start paying in the same month that the transaction took place or whether they start paying the month following the sales transaction. And then secondly, very important to determine whether there will be a discount, because then you have to take the discount into account as well. If we go to the debtors collection schedule now, it means that we will go and transfer the figures that we calculated. So in April, we said the total amount that we received was the 45,000. So I will show the 45,000 under April. Then from the April sales, we will receive 7,600. So we will put the 7,600 under April, add the two figures together to show that the total amount that will be received from debtors during April will be 52,600. Then for May, the total amount of the sales in April that we will receive in May will be 30,000. Of the sales during May, we will receive 6,650. So I show those two figures in my debtors collection schedule, add up and show that the total amount that we will receive during May will be 36,650. And then if we calculate the June figures, the money that we received from sales in May that will only be paid in June was 26,250. The money that we received from the sales in June is 9,500. So we will add those figures into our debtors collection schedule, add up and determine what is the total amount that will be received during June. What did we learn today? First of all, you must determine whether the debtors will start paying in the same month or whether they will start paying in the month following the sales. So will we receive it in the same month or will we receive it in the following month? Then you must determine whether discount is allowed, because if there's discount allowed, it must be subtracted from the figure that was calculated of the total amount that you are supposed to receive in that month. If discount is allowed, the following steps must be followed. Determine what is the credit sales. Calculate the percentage that you're supposed to receive on the credit sales, and of this amount that you calculate here, you will deduct the discount so that you can determine what is the actual amount that will be received during the current month.